What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with Mo, where we getting ready to get down into another episode breakdown of Tyler Perry's Sistas, alright? But before we get into this episode, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down right here, alright? So let's go ahead and get into the synopsis for this episode. So the episode that we're getting into is for season 6, episode number 6, titled Mending Fences, alright? So the synopsis states that Fatima and Zac's relationship is pushed to the limits as Karen's feelings for him start to increase. Gary tries to help Hayden out of an unexpected arrangement. Sabrina and Maurice meet up with a lawyer. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this. So we start this episode off with, you already know, Danny and Preston. So they are in the bed. It looked like they had a good time last night. Whatever happened, that's between them two. But anyhow, Danny wakes her ass up and she's talking about, how did you get in the bed? Like, what the hell you mean? Like, you put him in the bed, or you allow him to climb up in the bed and you climbed up on top of him. That's exactly what transpired, Danny. So don't act like you brand new. See, that's why I don't understand why you get liquored up, you get hired up, or whatever you want to phrase it. You do these things and then you don't recall nothing that went down the previous night. For me, I want to know every damn thing that went on last night. I want to remember it. I want to be able to cherish those memories 20, 40 years from now. You heard me? So this right here, what she's talking about, I got to stop getting so damn high. Yes, Danny, you absolutely have to stop doing what you're doing right now. And Preston is enjoying it, and I've... So obviously, she mentioned some things to him while she was in that, in that state of mind. And, oftentimes they always say, like Andy had previously the week before, where, you get liquored up, you start telling the truth about how you truly feel about stuff. And Danny conveyed, obviously, to Preston that she did love him. So we already knew that. So she's like, I don't know nothing about that. Yeah, Danny, that's the only reason why you still got him laying in your bed right now, Danny. And you're not trying to let him go. You're not trying to allow him to leave. So you might as well fess up to it. Be honest about it, and let's move on. Because Preston isn't going nowhere. And you constantly bringing up the fact that he had a girl to the side, or on the side per se. And you're constantly trying to remind him, hey, you need to go get old girl. Well, old girl is gone, and I believe that he's already said that numerous times before, Danny. So enough with that. Go ahead and deal with it. Put on your big girl drawers, and let's go ahead and deal with this situation face on, right? So anyhow, moving on from there, we head over to Andy's house. So Andy is calling Fatima to let her know, hey, we got some shit we gotta handle in the morning, early in the morning. I already know that you're up. Go ahead and meet me at the office or whatnot. So anyhow, while she's on the phone and she's closing out, Karen walks in, and Andy's like, what's going on? She was like, well, I'm on my way to the salon. Well, Andy's like, well, hell, this ain't the you obviously taking the long route, because this is not it. So Karen had some shit, obviously, that she needed to get off her chest. So that's why she's there talking to her best friend, Andy. So when she starts to talk to Andy a little bit, she's talking about the whole situation, with Zac coming over to see her at the shop. And Andy's like, why are you doing this? Like, that's a closed situation. Like, why are you trying to reopen something that is gone? And she was like, well, you saw the way he was looking at me or whatnot. And I've already shared some of this on my previous video. So if you have yet to check that out, please go back and look at my previous video on Zac's decisions, right? So the whole thing with me, with this whole situation with Karen, the hug, the embrace, the rubbing of the hair in the face, it rekindled some things in Karen. And it rekindled some things with Zac as well, because he thought that he had lost her. And he really loves Karen, but at the same time, he's in love with Fatima. Now, that's what I'm saying in my head, but the way the bro is acting right now, I'm just not sure. But let's get back on Karen very quickly. So Karen is trying to make something be that isn't there yet. All right? Yes, they got feelings for one another. Yes, they obviously love one another. She potentially may have his baby that we cannot see in her womb. Those are all potentially true. But at the same time, Karen, at this point, you need to allow him to do what he's going to do with Fatima, who is now and currently his fiance. All right? You got to learn how to let people go. Anyhow, I typically don't agree with Andy, but at this right here, I'm going to agree with Andy on this situation. Like, you need to let it go. So anyhow, she goes on to tell her what she said to Gary, how she was a little high, from the festivities that they had coming back. And she was like, I said some things that were pretty hurtful. And Karen was like, well, it is what it is. So anyhow, moving on, because there was nothing else to say about it. Moving on from there, we see Sabrina. So Sabrina is at the crib. She's calling Maurice because she's trying to get him ready for what they got planned for today, which is to go speak to the attorney that Bio has in place. So, no, actually, let me step back real quick. She's actually talking to Danny. She's actually talking to Danny, and Danny is telling her that, I effed up. Like, I done messed up this time. And really and truly, no, you have not messed up. What you need to do is just confess. You need to woman up, confess your true feelings for Preston. You love this guy. Go ahead and get past the color barrier or whatever the difference is and all of that stuff. He talks about cows. Get to know more things about him other than the cows. It is what it is. Just work it out. So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to Zac's crib. All right. So Zac is laid up in the bed, sleep. Fatima walks out of the bathroom or whatnot, G'd up, and she looks over to make sure that he's still asleep because she really doesn't want to have any conversation with him. So she's trying to avoid him at this point. So she listens to the voicemail from Andy and she heads out. While she's leaving, obviously she ain't all the way gone because we'll discuss that later. But Zac wakes up and he gets a phone call from guess who? Karen. So Karen is feeling good. She's feeling bubbly inside. She even got a smirk and smile on her face while she's driving her ass to the salon and whatnot. So he gets up, he picks up the phone. She was like, hey, you up? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Hey, do you want me to go ahead and get you that biscuit that you used to love or whatnot? Like, she's just been great. She's been friendly. She's been overly friendly, if you understand what I'm saying. And he was like, no, I'm good. And finally, they get off the phone because they just, they plan to meet up at the salon. So then he turns around and he's already looked around a few times already, noticing that the bed has already been made on Fatima's side. And he's like, Fatima, like she's going to answer him, right? So he decides to give her a phone call and he leaves a message for her and it goes straight to voicemail. So I was like, oh, she done clicked the no on his ass. So anyhow, he's like, see, you being petty. Like, first, I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold this till we get to that point, y'all. Cause I can go in right now, but I'm not going to do it right now. So next we see Gary at the office, and we see our boy Hayden, who has been MIA for the last 2 episodes. He's been MIA, but today he's here in the flesh, and he's coming in and he's conveying to Gary that I got something I got to tell you, bro. Like, we were supposed to go here to Florida, but we didn't go to Florida. We actually ended up going to Vegas. Gary's like, oh, that's cool, y'all good. He was like, no, bro, because when we got to Vegas, we got married. He was like, huh? So hold on. You went from getting loved down, and now you got a ring on it, bro. and you ain't even known no girl long enough to know her last name. And Gary's first thing is, well, okay, you can just get it, get it annulled. Do what you need to do. You're an attorney. But he was like, no, but what if I want to stay married to her? He was like, true, okay, but did you vet her? And he was like, well, I had my own little way of vetting. He was like, no, Gary was like, no, did you actually go into a system and vet her ass? Like, find out about, oh yeah, I looked her up. He was like, no, give me her name and information. He was like, look, dude. Anyhow, long story short, he decides to help, Hayden out. He's going to look into the background. Now, this is the situation that I was concerned about, because Gary has been telling old boy from the very get-go to go ahead and vet his girl, well, now his wife. So he hasn't done it because he's been, enjoying life, all right? And I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to say it like that. So anyhow, now we're at this point where Gary is going to be doing the behind the scenes for Hayden. And I just don't like where this is going at all, because this is going to end up backfiring on Fatima, and I don't like where this is going at all. But anyhow, we'll get there when it's time to get there. So we head over to Maurice's crib with Calvin. Calvin is still sitting on this damn couch, and Sabrina walks in. So she was like, where in the hell is Maurice? Calvin is like, well, I tried to get him up or whatnot, but he's actually still in the bed. So she was like, look, we need to go see the attorney. Calvin is like, I already know. He was like, well, you can try to go back there and wake his ass up. So anyhow, she goes back there. Maurice comes out with this gown or some shit on, and he's coming out, and as usual, he's not taking anything seriously. Like, can I just be honest with y'all? I'm over this whole storyline with him not being serious at no freaking point in any of these episodes. Like, at some point, and I hate to say it, but the only serious time that I really seen with Maurice is when he threatened to unalive Q. That's the only time that I've seen him be serious for real on this show. Outside of that, he has some times where he can be serious, but bro, you are playing with your life right now. Sabrina is trying to free herself from, whatever you brought upon them, because all of this is because you cannot be serious. This whole recording and all of this stuff is because Maurice has not been serious from the get-go. Anyhow, she was like, look, we need to go ahead and go see the attorney. He was like, no, I'm not going to see that attorney because, he has a relationship with Bio, and, Bio doesn't like me. She was like, that's not true. And he was like, it's true. Anyhow, who cares at this point, Maurice? Right now, you have an attorney that's ready and willing to hear you out and work on your case. Work on that and deal with that other shit later, bro. Like, that's what you need to be doing. So, unfortunately, he doesn't leave with Sabrina. Calvin has to persuade him that, hey, I'm going to take you out to eat to your favorite restaurant if you decide to go and sit down with this attorney. Well, Maurice is like, well, shit, you should have told me that from the get-go. Like, bro, who in the hell cares? Like, go ahead and take care of your business. Anyhow, man, moving on. We head over to the law firm where we see Andy and Fatima. So Fatima is not feeling well. She's there. Andy sees her, and she could tell that something isn't right with Fatima. So she stops her, and she's like, what's good? Like, and Fatima really doesn't want to convey anything to her. And she was like, well, okay, what is it? And she was like, She looks at her, and she was like, I guess the way you want to talk. She was able to, convey to her what she really wanted her to know without saying words. And she was like, oh, okay. So so she was like, okay, well, I get that. And she was like, yeah, it was embarrassing. And I told y'all from the get-go that shit was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for me for this man to leave a whole fiance sitting over here at the attorney's office while he go runs for his ex-chick. I'm just saying. So while they're in the midst of conversating, the secretary runs up Now, this is what I did not like. Andy goes off on the secretary. Andy, what the hell are you talking about? Zac made his way back there. He saw y'all over there talking. You don't think he didn't see that? So don't go off on the secretary, which this is a whole new secretary, I believe. I haven't seen her before. Maybe she's been on there before, but I just haven't seen her. But anyhow, no, I take that back. Was she on that previous episode? Some shit. Anyhow, excuse me, y'all. So anyhow, Zac comes over. He's trying to grab on Fatima. Fatima ain't trying to hear it. She was like, look, Zac, look, I'm at work, bro. And look, it is what it is at this point. Zac, you're not going to resolve, dissolve, fix all, none of that shit right here. It's not going to happen at her place of work. So you might as well wait till she gets back to the crib if she decides to show up. Because obviously, she ain't talking to you at the house. So anyhow, she leaves and he's standing there with Andy. Now, he has to be schooled by the most clueless person on this show outside of Sabrina. Alright? Andy, we all know, is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Alright? But she's a smart woman, obviously, because she's an attorney. But when it comes to just common sense, it's not there. And for Zac, who seems to be relatively smart at some point, at some places, it just seems like he's missing the mark on so many things at this point. So he has to be schooled by Andy to let him know what the hell he's doing wrong. So he was like, what's good? She was like, you don't know? So I'm like, I said it almost at the same time. I was like, you don't know? Like, I just don't get him. For real. Like, I try to support my brothers at all costs, but when you wrong, you wrong. When you right, you right. And for me, Zac is either blind to the fact that, yes, he loves Karen, but he loves her so much that he's willing to sacrifice his love that he currently has in front of him. That's odd to me. And I know that's some real shit. I know some people out there that probably are going through this same shit. Like, you just can't let that past shit go. And unfortunately, you're going to miss out on some good shit because you can't let go of the bad shit. I just hate it for Zac, man. I wish that he could see it. Maybe he'll get it, in this season or whatnot, because I think it's about to hit the fan and he's finally going to realize the pain that he has caused his fiance, his wife to be, over somebody that he could not work with. Someone that treated him as a child, throughout his relationship as he continued to state over and over. Now he's looking at Fatima because she's encouraging him. She's guiding, helping him or assisting him in guiding his footsteps towards where he wants to go as a grown-ass man. I see both sides. But at the same time, at some point, he needs to realize it inwardly, what's going down here. And unfortunately, I just feel like Andy, having to tell him this shows me a whole lot about who Zac is and where he is mentally. Alright? Because he was totally emotional about this whole shit. I mean, this was about to cry in front of Andy over his ex. Like, she ain't dead. She ain't dead, bro. Anyhow, man, let me move on, man, because he frustrates me right now. Anyhow, so Andy pretty much leaves him and he's standing out there pissed off because she ain't even let this finish his phrase, right? So then Andy goes back into her office and Fatima's in there organizing papers or whatnot, and she was like, well, is he gone? And Andy's like, yeah, he's gone. So long story short, Fatima's not feeling it. She already knows where he's going because she overheard the conversation this morning when he was laying in the bed talking to Karen. She already knew that he was going to meet her. So Andy already knew that as well because Karen had conveyed that information to her as well. So Andy is not trying to play on the fence, but obviously she has to because she doesn't want to take a side. But at the same time, she knows exactly how Fatima is feeling right now, because Fatima has shared so much, of the great things that she feels when she's with Zac. You know what I'm saying? So for her to take this ring off and give it to Andy says a whole lot, because number one, she trusts Andy, but she also feels that Andy knows what she's going through in this whole situation. So I thought that was a big part on this show. Going on from there, we see Sabrina handling her grown woman business, going to sit down with the attorney that Bio has set up for them. And from the look on her face, you could tell when the attorney asked her about the other, the co-partner that was supposed to come along with her, you could tell that she felt some type of way, because Sabrina has had to go through a whole lot of stuff to get Maurice out of jail. Shit. Like, at some point, I'm like, to hell with Maurice, Sabrina. Just take care of yourself and work this shit out with Bio. Do what you need to do, because he's going to end up losing his money with Maurice, because Maurice is a whole fool. So anyhow, long story short, Maurice eventually shows up. Even when he shows up, I wish that he didn't, because at this point, I'm really at the point like 86 Maurice off this damn show. Right now, he is ridiculous. He's going to throw a monkey wrench in all their plans. I just don't get him. So when he comes in, the attorney is like, hey, okay, so you're Maurice. He was like, yes. And then he goes into this whole, jokey type of spiel. And I'm like, this is not the time nor the place, Maurice. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, man, I'm fed up with Maurice, man. I maybe, I hate to say it like that, but maybe Q should have got him instead of Q getting got. I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, man, and I know y'all probably gonna beat me up on that, but I'm just saying, be serious for once, bro. Be serious for once. So anyway, the attorney conveys to them pretty much, that the case is weak, and that the only witness that they have is Q, who has a substantial criminal record, which I don't even understand how Logan was able to use Q in this situation. It's sort of like when me and my wife used to watch First 48, and they bring these folks in, and when they would bring them in, they would have this rap sheet 2-3 pages long, and I'm like, how these is out of jail? I'm like, what's going on? But anyhow, how you going to use this witness, as your only witness, like he's a reliable witness or whatnot. So anyhow, the lawyer also states, I'm going to try to get it, thrown out. But the DA is the one that has it out for this whole situation. So we'll talk about that soon in another video. Look forward, all right? So anyhow, he also tells them, if it doesn't go that way, then you both are looking at about 15 years apiece. So, of course, now Maurice wants to be serious. 15 years. Oh, come on, man. It is what it is. Do what you're supposed to do so you keep your ass up out of jail, all right? So going on from there, we head over to Karen's shop. She's standing outside. She's talking to some of her employees, I'm assuming. And here comes Pam. So Pam shows up, and she was like, hey, I just wanted to come and look at the shop. Of course, Karen has to throw her dig at her, like, hey, I wish I could get you to show up this early on the norm, right? So she was like, well, I'm just here to help. While they in the midst of talking, Aaron pops out. Now, is it me? Is it just me? Or why does this keep popping up? Like, she's already told you previously that she ain't feeling this. She feels like you gaslight women, and you making people crazy, and she's telling you, you're not gonna make me crazy, so I don't need you to be in my space. But for some odd reason, John Aaron keeps popping up, and now he's in the building where ain't nobody else supposed to be. Did he lay that body in the building? Because he obviously knows a whole lot about the person that was in the building. Now, of course, he's leaning on the fact that Gary gave him the information. But for me, I'm uncertain about that. I don't believe that Gary gave him any damn information about who was burned, because who is giving that information up? I believe that he knew who that was in that building, and I also believe that for some strange reason, something in my spirit is telling me that Aaron is up to no damn good. So he's showing up now with a bodysuit on, talking about he's in there cleaning up. He's telling Karen, hey, you want to come in? I can let you stand at the side door. I don't think it'll be beneficial for you, with you being pregnant and all, to get, smell all the smoke and the chemicals and whatnot. And so like, yeah, that's true. So anyhow, while he's in the midst of talking to her, you already know who was showing up. Zac. Brother Zac shows up. He drives up. Pam was like, oh shit, it's about to go down. I was like, hell to the no. Here we go with this drama again. So Zac shows up. He's all dismissive to John Aaron or whatnot, talking about that's the best he's looked in a long time or whatnot. And, they're both going at each other. Look, she ain't worth it. Look, I know y'all gonna get mad at me, but Karen is not worth it at this point. John Aaron ain't worth it. Zac ain't worth it. Ain't none of these folks right here worth it right now, because, listen, look, I'm gonna have to put this in a whole nother video, because I know this ain't what y'all came here for. Y'all came here for a review. But I'm just saying, ain't none of these was worth it right here. Alright? All four of them standing up there can go elsewhere. But anyhow, since we're in this story, let me go ahead and stick to the story. So Karen dismisses Aaron, tells his ass going back in there and clean up. He goes in there. And then she also dismisses Pam. So Pam was trying to stand there to see what was going down. Anyhow, she dismisses her. She goes off. So now they had this whole little dialogue with one another. And Zac, for some strange reason, decides to pull Karen in closer. Now, we've already had a situation that happened previously where you done pulled her in and embraced her multiple times, 100 times before. So we don't need that right here. So while he's doing that, she turns around and she pecks him on the cheek. Nothing else, just on the cheek. But anyhow, while they're getting done with all that situation right there, we see Fatima standing in the background at the car, watching all of this shit go down. Now, Zac sees all of this, but Karen doesn't, or does she? Because I think that she was putting on for a reason. See, this right here is getting petty boots. And for me, it's a lot of drama that does not need to go down. Karen knows exactly what she's doing. Fatima knows what she's doing as well. See, it's not going to pan out well, because Fatima isn't going to allow Karen to get the satisfaction of doing the shit that she's doing right now. Now, I know I said in the previous video that I honestly feel that Zac is going to end up with Karen, but I said that because I don't think that Fatima is going to stay around and allow Zac to continuously hurt her as he's done to, not Fatima, but to Karen. That's why I made that statement. But honestly, I feel that he can stay with Fatima because of his, how they're relatable in so many ways. But at the same time, he's going back and forth like he can't let this girl go. So I'm intrigued about what's about to go down in episode number 7. We'll talk about it, but as always, man, get into the conversation. That's pretty much all I got to say about this episode. It was real quick. Under 30 minutes. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. If you made it to this 29 minute mark on this video, as always, I appreciate you guys for subscribing to my channel and liking my videos, as well as just supporting me, man. So I appreciate you guys so very much. So until next time, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.